So folks, we're going to talk a little bit about Philadelphia today. So y'all know I'm a Philly kid right here. Y'all know I'm a Philly kid. And they got an election they're trying to do in Pennsylvania today. And things aren't going so well, but they're trying to do it. And it's, I heard there's protesters that are blocking people from voting, and people are having a lot of trouble. Certain ballots are having problems. But I want to talk a little bit about Philadelphia because we saw some video from Philadelphia yesterday that went pretty viral. We saw some polls that came out today, and we saw a lot that's going on around the country. And so because I have a unique perspective on a number of these things, I thought it'd be very quick to take some time to address all of these issues with you. And so we have to start as we always do. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard today's edition of Posto Nation. So I wanted to talk about, so there's a Morning Consult poll out today that says 58% of Americans, almost 60% of Americans, that's almost 2/3, support using the military to put down the rioting and the looting. That's when you say the phrase military. When you say National Guard, in that poll, that number jumps up to 71%. So 71% want the National Guard in there. 71% want the National Guard defending our cities. And the reason for that is quite simple. And the reason for that is because these mayors, these big city mayors, and every single one of these big city mayors is a liberal Democrat. Some of the most liberal Democrats that you've seen in a long time. When you talk about Jim Kenney for Philadelphia, when you talk about Muriel Bowser for Washington, D.C., when you talk about Bill de Blasio, Warren Wilhelm of New York City, who should probably be arrested. I wouldn't say that for every big city mayor, but de Blasio, yeah, arrest him. Just arrest him. Just arrest him. Just arrest him, depose him. He cannot be the mayor of New York City anymore. This is our biggest city. It is our most important city in the United States of America. And he is absolutely not able to control the city. He's completely lost control of his city, and he should be arrested for that. Dereliction of duty, abuse of power, take your pick. Just arrest him. And then, by the way, NYPD backs me on that one. So the actual people doing the arresting want to do it. And Cuomo, I gotta say, you had 13,000 National Guard on standby last night and you didn't do anything. So you're gonna try to put on de Blasio. But you had 13,000 guys standing by? How are you gonna do that? Wolf in Pennsylvania? Now, Philadelphia, the rioting wasn't as bad as New York. The rioting and looting, but the looting needs to stop. It absolutely needs to stop. So Philly PD needs to get out there. They need to get out there, number one. But here's the problem, right? The problem is, and it goes like this. When you have a destabilization of society type event, like we're seeing right now, when the rule of law breaks down, and I talked about this 5 years ago. I talked about this 5 years ago when I covered the Freddie Gray riots in Baltimore, right? I was there live. And so I don't know how many people that are watching now were following me 5 years ago. I see that some people who are watching are and will remember that the thing that really surprised me the most about it, what surprised me the most about it was the speed. The speed at which the rule of law disintegrated and the speed at which all anarchy broke loose. It doesn't take that much, folks. It doesn't take that much. And when you've got, so the 2020 riots are a nationwide version of what I saw during the Freddie Gray riots in 2015, okay? It doesn't take much. And so this is, look, you talk to any Second Amendment supporter, and you ask them, you say, why do I have the Second Amendment? Why do I legally own firearms? Why was the Second Amendment so important that they put it as a constitutionally protected right? And that was because of the defense of a free republic, the rule of law. It's right there. It's in black and white. It's right there in black and white, right? And so the idea is we understand, and that's what you saw happen. Okay, these viral videos that started in Fishtown, Philadelphia. So the Fishtown boys were the ones that started this. And if you didn't see those viral videos, so Fishtown is a section of Philadelphia. And you can tell I'm from Philadelphia because I say Philadelphia. It's not Philadelphia. It's not Philadelphia. It's Philadelphia. It's Philadelphia. So people know I'm from Philly. The Philly kid, grew up, just outside the city, went to Temple University, grew up going to Eagles games, grew up going to Phillies games, grew up going to concerts. I can't, looking back, I was like, boy, my parents used to let me go to concerts by myself when I was a teenager down Philly, down the Spectrum, when it was still around. I used to go there a lot. The Electric Factory, the Trocadero, the Khyber Pass, you name it. We would go. And of course the TLA up and down South Street, whatever. But Fishtown, was, that's the Union Boys, right? That's the Union Boys. That's not South Philly. That's a white working class neighborhood, and it's very close to Port Richmond. Port Richmond, my brother lives in Port Richmond now. He was just doing a Periscope from Fishtown. Sorry, Kev, didn't mean to dox you. It's not really doxing, but it's that's a big Polish section. So Port Richmond, there's a lot of Poles, a lot of Polacks in Port Richmond. And look, I'm not endorsing vigilantism, okay? And I want to be very clear about that, okay? Right? This isn't a call to arms Periscope. This isn't anything like that. But I'm explaining what's going on for those people who are trying to understand, right? Because when the rule of law disintegrates, and because these liberal mayors allow the rule of law to disintegrate the way they have, that's what leads to people taking matters into their own hands. And these aren't political groups. Like, people were trying to say, oh, that's a bunch of MAGA people. That's a bunch of Trump supporters. Like, no, by the way, most of those are Union Boys. And if you grew up in a working class area, you knew who the Union Boys were, right? Who the Union Boys were, all right? And you know that you don't mess with the Union Boys. You don't do it, right? The Union Boys, by the way, and this is the Philly Union Boys, right? And let me tell you something. Growing up, I have seen some stuff in Philly, right? And Philly Union Boys, look, they work hard, they play hard, and they don't like anybody putting up, any funny business. They don't like that. They don't like any wise guys coming around, right? They don't care. They don't. By the way, they're not there. They don't care about the black community having a protest. They're not against protests. They're not against people having demonstrations. They're against people coming into their neighborhoods and attacking and looting from their communities. And we've shown the rioting and the looting and the burning, the Renner Center, right down from there, right up Kensington section. All right, and so the problem is that when the rule of law disintegrates, people start taking matters into their own hands. So nationwide right now, it's more than just Fishtown, but I'm talking about Fishtown because I'm explaining how it goes. And by the way, again, I didn't say I'm endorsing it, I'm explaining how it is, right? And understand that this is a factual analysis of the situation. I'm not taking sides, I'm not promoting one or the other, I'm just explaining how it is, because that's just how it is. And growing up where I did, I've got my whole family, I could see in the bottom is watching the Periscope. So you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, and tell me if tell me if anything anything I'm saying is wrong. But let me just say something. Like, when I saw those guys walking around, I was like, I could see my dad doing that. Yeah, I could see my dad walking around with those guys. Now, our area was called Norristown. And that's exactly how it was. The neighborhood boys would take care of things. If there was a problem that needed to be straightened out, you didn't go to the police. You didn't go to the authorities. The neighborhood boys would take care of it. And that's just how it was. That's just how it was. Okay? That's just how it was. And the neighborhood took care of neighborhood business, right? And by the way, so Kevin actually broke this news. Believe it or not, my brother, Kevin Posobiec, K-Poso, broke the news earlier today that there was dynamite and explosives, small explosives were being used in the Fishtown area to crack open ATMs, all right? And that actually, they killed somebody last night with the small explosives. So you got to understand that when you're seeing vigilantism, when you're seeing neighborhood watches get put together with baseball bats, it's happening in response to the lack of rule of law, the breakdown in the rule of law, the criminality that's then rising up through those cracks, explosives being used on ATMs to get the money out. And we're back. So someone actually died. Came back. Sorry, I got a phone call in, and from someone you all know, but I'm back right now. So somebody actually died because of the explosions that were going off in Fishtown, in that very area. So you got to understand that we're talking about pressure. We're talking about pressure being applied in a certain direction. Sorry about that. No, I got a phone call in from someone who should know whether or not to check if I'm live or not. Let me just put it that way. Another well-known Periscope user. And it's a friend. It's okay. I'll call him back. No, not Will. And those people were trying to protect because people were actually using bombs in their neighborhood, okay? Right? And so this is the problem. One side uses bombs, then one side uses bats. Then it escalates and it escalates from there because you don't have somebody like the police or like the National Guard that's coming in to settle these disputes and to keep everything balanced and keep everything even. Keep everything even. So that's the reason. And this isn't just there. That's just that I know about that. See, I know about that area, but I can tell you, and I'm seeing it now today across the country. I'm seeing it now across the country. And by the way, they did have AR-15s up on the roof in Port Richmond. They had AR-15s up on the roof in Port Richmond on top of East Coast Wings, looking down, saying, we're gonna defend what we got. We're gonna protect what we got. So they're there on top of the wing shack. They're there on top of the wing shack. So that's what it comes down to. And if you threaten what people have in this world, then you will see a side of humanity. You will see a side of humanity come out when they feel threatened that maybe isn't the most pretty side of humanity. It may be not the most social media friendly side of humanity, but you're going to see a very Hobbesian side of reality coming out if you understand Hobbesian reality and Hobbesian humanity. Okay? That's human nature, folks. That's immutable human nature. And you can see this, by the way, nationwide. There's neighborhood watch groups getting set up, private Facebook groups. Private Facebook groups are being set up around the country in various neighborhoods of people who are coming in and coming together to say, okay, people are going. And how many people in America have done this? How many people have done this? How many of you have done this if you live in a neighborhood, if you thought, okay, if looters come to my street, how many people on my street are veterans? How many people on my street have guns? How many people on my street are officers? right? Every man has done that this week. I'll tell you right now, every single man in America has done that this week. Right? And some of those men, and it's instinctual. It is instinctual. And some of those men are then taking the next step and talking about joining together. All right? Because they understand that if you've got a group of people, then, you know, you want to be able to respond. And also because you want to be able to share information, right? You want to be share information. If somebody can see one end of the street, you want to talk to the guy at the other end of the street, right? And it's horrible. It's horrible to be in this kind of situation. It's horrible to be here in the greatest country on the planet. The greatest country on the planet. And to see this happen to it. To see this happen to it. You know, my family comes from Poland, right? And Poland was devastated by wars, by neighbor wars. Germany and Russia, all right? Fascists, communists. Poland was devastated by that. But Poland fought back, and Poland stood strong. But my family, about 100 years ago, they said, well, we're going to come to America because, and keep, by the way, 100 years ago, Poland didn't even exist. Well, when my family came over 102 years ago, Poland didn't exist. Poland, this is actually the 2018 was the 100-year anniversary, right? But when my family came over in 1916, Poland wasn't even on the map. Poland didn't exist. Poland didn't exist, right? And so they said, maybe we can find a better chance. The Polish farmers, right? And maybe we can find a better chance if we come to America. So they came to America, 1916, Pasovics, and they said, let's try things here. Seems pretty safe. People seem to be making money. You know, they got jobs working in factories. My grandfather was the first Pasovic born in America. He worked as a mechanic. 1941 happened, and a couple of weeks after Pearl Harbor, joined the military and ended up fighting for the U.S. Army in World War II under General Patton, the Third Army. Operation Torch, if you guys know about that. So that's the story of the Pasovics. And my dad and his mom, and they were living right in the Philadelphia area, and they worked all their lives. They worked hard all their lives there, put food on the table for us every night, made sure that we had a stable family, and then here's me, right? And so now we're seeing violence and crime come up from inside America. America wasn't invaded. America wasn't attacked. America wasn't, you know, none of that, right? This is internal strife. This is internal strife, okay? And we have law enforcement and resources to take care of this, but backstopping everything is the inherent right of self-defense. And that's why it is focused on the Constitution. And that's why it's there. All right, and I don't want to be too long on this because I want to get home to Tanya Tay. But folks, also I want to just keep in mind, just make sure you have first aid supplies too. And if you live in one of those areas, but if you live in a city right now, just get out, right? If you live in a city just now and there's threats, just get out, right? Go find family. Go find go find somebody who's got a place you can rent. So go camping. Whatever you're allowed to do right now, just go, right? Just get out of the cities, right? Wait. Don't be there, right? And if you do, you know, you want to be high up as much as you can and stay away from windows, right? So even if you are high up, you want to stay away from windows because they're throwing bricks into windows right here in Washington, D.C. So if you're standing up at the windows looking out, they're going to smash, they can throw bricks up there and smash your windows in, right? So if you are going to stay in the cities, right, stay away from your windows at night, right? It's basic, you know, it's just basic tactics. You also want to make sure during the day, do your shopping in the daytime. I just got the message that DC is going to be under watch right now. But I also want to key something in. And I did the Charlie Kirk show earlier today. We said something that's very important. And if you live in the suburbs, you want to start thinking about how far away you live from the city, right? Because if you live close enough there will be people from, we're now starting to see reports in the Chicago suburbs, and this is something that Charlie mentioned, that people are coming from the cities, from the city of Chicago, out to the suburbs to loot and commit crimes there because they know people more affluent. And this isn't political, by the way. This is stick-up gangs. This is urban warfare. This is criminal organizations. It's druggies in some cases. LA, I'm seeing people say it's happened in Los Angeles suburbs as well. You know, Orange County, not that far away. Traffic's probably low right now. In Pennsylvania, the Philadelphia area, you know, you really want to watch out for Lower Merion, Haverford, Bryn Mawr, Villanova, because that's just a couple of miles down Lancaster Avenue from West Philly, right? Ricky, you want to call in? Yeah, Ricky, call in. Give me an LA update. I'm doing the East Coast stuff over here, but give me an LA update. Give me an LA update. And the problem with Washington, D.C., by the way, is Washington, D.C. has both. Because Washington, D.C. has gentrified neighborhoods that are right next to impoverished neighborhoods. And so the problem with that income disparity is that then you're getting people who think, you know, you've got a haves and have-nots kind of situation. And so some of these criminals know that the more affluent people are right there. They're right next to you. Oh man, the call-in, I might have turned off the call-in button. My bad, brother. Next time. We'll get you on this week. So, make sure that you're safe, make sure that you're being smart, and make sure that you have all the first aid stuff that you need. If you've got a security program, if you've got a security system at your house, if you've got cameras, make sure they're running all night. And just get them going. Because even if something doesn't happen at your house, something can happen across the street, something can happen down the street. Who knows? You might catch something, right? You might catch something, you might hear something. So make sure your security systems are running. And look small. You know, look, I was talking to, I can't say who, but I was talking to a pretty well-known figure earlier this week about who lives on Capitol Hill, who's very worried about what could happen, right? Because this individual who I can't name, lives on Capitol Hill, and said, you know, what should I do? Should I get baseball bats or anything? And I said, bro, just be realistic, man. Put up like a Black Lives Matter sign and a pride flag and like anything you can think of to signal a way, right? To just signal that you're quote unquote an ally, or that you're something that they shouldn't target, right? And just be smart. And you want to be quiet. You want to be quiet. By the way, another thing is leave your lights on, right? Leave your lights on. Make it look like people are awake. Make it look like people are up. Leave your lights on. Simple. Leave your lights on, right? Lights on outside, lights on inside, right? Even while you sleep with the lights on. So that way, you know, it makes it